I guess whatever. Any hoozles. Um, Wait for everybody to join back up. Sorry. All right. Well, that didn't do it, did it? Why can't we flip? Why can't we go horizontal? I don't understand. No, 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 no. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure. I guess we're gonna do it vertical. It is what it is. Um. So let me. Jiminy crickets. Let me get over here. So if I have to see, said hi, hi. Uh, if I have to see the live chat, I can see the live chat better from over here. Um. So somebody asked me um a little while ago. Um, they wanted to know the whole story on what happened with Poopsie. And now that I'm in a little bit better place, um, you know, to be able to tell this story, um, figured what the hell, why not? Maybe it can help somebody. Maybe it can't. I don't know. I don't know. But um, yeah, I hope y'all ready. um, so in the last live stream, one of the last live streams, I think it was like one or two live streams ago, three live streams ago, whatever. Um, you saw me and Poopsie at a park in Sioux Falls, waiting for his surgery time, and so, and yes, I'm just going to get into it. So, what you don't see, uh, look, hang on, right now. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah. So at 5 o'clock he went in. Well, it was like 5:30. He went in for the kidney stone removal. Well, uh, that took about an hour. Um, hey Zunk, how you doing? That took about an hour, and um, super long story short is we decided to end up leaving him there overnight. And I'm not going to name the hospital, even though I think they are kind of one of them that didn't help the situation. But, um, oh, thank you, son. Um, yeah, this might not be, I mean, for everybody that's new here, hi. probably probably not the best live stream to first start. But hi, welcome. Be prepared to be awkward, or feel awkward, I guess. Um, so yeah. Anyway, long story short, for that first day on September 5th, um, he ended up spending the night at the hospital. I drove the 2 hours home. Um, the Oh, thank you. Welcome to the parking lot. Um, well, what's left of the parking lot? It's been kind of crumbling here, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, at about 8 o'clock, I started making phone calls the next day to the hospital where he was at, and blah blah blah. They kept, no, he's not being discharged yet. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready. I'm like, okay. So at about, I don't know, it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock ish. They called and said, "Yep, he's ready. Come get him. He'll be discharged by the time you get here." I'm like, okay. So I got there about noon, 12:30, something like that. And he was in on the edge of his bed, basically. He wasn't ready to go. I mean, he was dressed, but he wasn't ready to go. And he was kind of shaky and wobbly, which I've seen before. Um, I wasn't there but 5 minutes, and um, yeah, EMT crew came rolling in. At that particular point, I was literally ignored. Like I wasn't even in the room, and so I kept asking him, like, what medications did you give him? 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 And nobody would talk to me. Nobody would even look at me. Nobody would talk to me. Um, so the charge nurse, whatever you want to call her, floor nurse, whatever it is, um, she wouldn't even look. She wouldn't even look at me. So I was like, okay, well, EMT was there. There was a three-person crew and stuff like that. And I kept asking. I'm like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? What medications did you give him? What medications did you give him? And nobody would even look at me. Okay, so she goes, well, let's load him up. And I'm like, no, wait, no. What, answer questions first, and then we'll figure out where he's going. Well, again, being ignored. um, so the head nurse and the lead EMT were talking back and forth, and they were like facing away from me. Well, they were facing each other, but they were on the other side of the room from me. Poopsie was on the right, or on my left, just a few feet from me. And so the other two started hooking him up and blah, 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 blah. So um, I finally screamed, or yelled as loud as I could yell. And every single person stopped and looked at me. And I said, what medications did you give him? And they just, and then turned and started talking to each other. So I'm like, okay, well, if you insist on taking him, bring him to Sanford or the VA because he's a Vietnam vet. So I was like, bring him either to Sanford or the VA. And nope, we're bringing him to Avera. Okay, so needless to say, we went to Avera, which was right across the street. Um, I was already starting to lose my patience. We all know how much patience I have. Basically none. Um, so Avera at the ER, they were trying to do their stuff and blah 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 blah. They were asking the routine questions and so on and so on and so on. I was able to answer everything. Um, they did. Um, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know what the technical term is. Basically, to see if you had a stroke, and they did the push away, push up, don't let me push down, blah 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 type things. And he's never had a stroke. He's never had symptoms of a stroke. He's never blah blah blah. Um, Even though he was AFib, he was diagnosed couple years ago with AFib, but it wasn't the AFib that increases this. I mean, all AFib. Let's face it, all AFib increases the chance of stroke, but his wasn't the one. It was just accelerated heart. So, um, but there's no history, there's no nothing of AFib or a stroke in his family. So, at least none that I knew of. So the nurses at the ER were pretty confident that it wasn't a stroke. And I kept telling them they need to get the medication list. 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 And um, what's up, Mr. Sam? Nobody did. Nobody. I still don't know even today. I don't know what medications they gave him. Um, the doctor came in and instantly hyper focused on stroke, 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 stroke. That's it. That's stroke, stroke. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else mattered. Nothing else. Stroke, 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 stroke. And we were in the ER for, it was roughly 8 hours before he got to bed. Um, oh well, thank you. Um, well, it's like it's a little late now, Um, so yeah, we were there for about 8 hours. They finally got him admitted on the third floor. Um, no, first floor. Sorry, he was on the first floor the first time. Um, room 1115. I still remember that room number. Um, didn't say anything else. Didn't anything. They got him into his room. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna let you sleep. You're tired. We've this has been very stressful on him. Enough's enough. I'm gonna go home. So I drove the 2 hours back home without him, and the next day I went down, and so Sioux Falls, from my house to Sioux Falls, is 2 hours one way. So it's 2 hours there, 2 hours back. And now keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But um, the next day went down, went to the room. I was in the room, in the room. Didn't know anything of it. Wasn't told anything. Even stopped at the front desk, the nurse's station. Made sure he was there because I didn't know if they had him in a lab somewhere or X-rays or whatever. I had no clue. So I even stopped at the nurse's station and went down and was in his room. And one of the nurses came frantically busting through the door, and she was all masked up, gowned up, whatever. And, well, you can't be in here. Yes, I can. Legally, yes, I can. I'm like, well, I don't what? And, well, come to find out he had COVID. I'm not going to get into the whole COVID conversation. Personally, I could give two shits about COVID, right? I'm not in the age bracket that needs to worry about it. And besides, I'll deal with it. Whatever. I'm whatever. It is what it is. So I was not worried about the COVID part. Well, come to find out, he had COVID in the left lung. He had pneumonia in the lower left lung. So COVID likes to live up on the top of the lungs. Pneumonia lives at the bottom of the lungs. They were both in the same lung. The doctor hyper focused on stroke for 3 days. 3 days. General antibiotics for everything else. There was no, granted, there really is no antibiotics of anything, but they weren't really giving. They were basically just giving him a decongestion. That's all they were giving him. Weren't moving him, weren't getting him up, weren't physical therapy, weren't occupational therapy, weren't nothing, weren't anything. Focused on the stroke for 3 days. Well, in the meantime, the thing living on the top of the lung and the thing living on the bottom of the lung decided to have a little party in the middle. He started growing fungal spores in his left lung. Now, fungal spores in your body is it's dangerous, but not as dangerous as in your lungs. It very rapidly got out of control. Um, Again, most people don't believe the story that I have. Most people don't believe what happened, and I only tell people a little bit of what happened because a whole shit ton more happened. I mean, it literally, even Hollywood couldn't write the script. Um, it when I say it was a fight every day for me to get information or for me to be heard or for me to listen, to be listened to. um is an understatement. It's huge. It was a massive fight every freaking day. Um, so this went on for about 15 days. Went in, fully masked up. Once I got in the room, I took my mask off. I don't care. I didn't care. Um, it's not like I went over and, had him breathe in my face or we shared the same cup or, whatever. Um, yeah, I really, well, I really honestly wasn't worried about it. And I, washed my hands. I mean, call me silly. I washed my hands. Um, so, like I said, I wasn't really worried about it. And I didn't want him to see me there and have everybody masked up and deal with this sickness and all this other bullshit, knowing that it was just that it was bullshit. But that went on for 15 days. Um, he stayed in for another 5, so it was 20 total, and they decided to release him. Okay, well, they never once got him up. They never. Well, I take that back. That 20 days or that 5 days before he was transferred, they finally started getting him up and moving. Now, people, let me remind you, he was 79 years old. The old saying is, if it's true, if you don't use it, you lose it. He already had a mobility problem issue. He couldn't walk very well. He couldn't sit. He couldn't lay. He had issues. To let somebody like that lay in bed for a month, almost a month, is catastrophic. It's huge. It's huge. Um, I kept telling him every day, let's get him up, let's get him moving, let's get him sit up, let's put him in a chair, let's do something, let's move him. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. I'm like, okay, so needless to say, uh, it was a Tuesday night that one of the nurses called me. And by this time, I've had enough. I've had, because none of these tests that they were doing, first of all, none of the tests I was explained to or I was told about. Two, um, none of them made any sense. None of them made any sense to the lung. None of them. None of them. Um, so the first 3 days they hyper focused on stroke. The next 4 days they hyper focused on left kidney. Now the whole thing that started this was a kidney stone. Guess where? Left kidney. So they went in. He went in for a complete, CAT scan with contrast. They found damage in his left kidney. Uh huh. He just literally a couple days ago gave birth to a kidney stone. Uh huh. Then they went back to the whole stroke thing. So you see where I'm going with this, right? So it was a Tuesday night. The nurse called. I've already had enough. I was tired of not being left in there, pulled into the loop. I was tired of, being left in the dark. I was tired of not being listened to. I was tired of not, just I was. So none of the tests made any sense to me. That what they were doing. Nothing made any sense. Nothing made any sense. I called her out. I called the nurse out on that Tuesday. I literally asked her, is he your cash cow? I said, because none of this is making any sense. I said, you first, the 3 days, hyper focused on a stroke. Then for 4 days or 5 days, you were hyper focused on his kidney, which he just gave birth to a kidney stone. Then you went back for another 3 or 4 days, hyper focusing on the stroke thing. But in the meantime, you didn't do anything about the freaking fungal spores that he was producing that was shooting fungus into his bloodstream. You know what that's called? That's called sepsis. People die from that. 77.5% of people die from sepsis. 77.7 or 77.5. At least that's what the online Google, thing says. So that's what So, anyways, I called her out, and I was like, he's VA, he's on the state. None of these things make any sense. I don't understand what is going on. Is Are you just milking him for money? Because at that time, everything pointed to they were just using him for money. Um, and nobody, not even them, not nobody has ever not proven that they didn't milk him for money. Um, so that was the big the big Avera in Sioux Falls. And yes, I am dropping names because this is all this is all factual. So I don't care. Um, so in the process, the day before I called this nurse out or started asking if he was his cash cow, we um, wanted to go to Morningside, which was a Vera in Marshall, Minnesota. It was a rehab nurse slash nursing home, and it's only 45 minutes away from home versus 2 hours one way. So that Wednesday, now mind you, Tuesday night is when I called her out. That Wednesday is when I was supposed to go down and pick him up and transfer him to up in Marshall, Morningside. Um, I get a phone call at 8:30 in the morning. He's ready. He's waiting for you down at the lobby. Come pick him up. He's discharged. He's all yours. Click. I still got I still got 2 hours. Okay, so yes, I did speed. So got in the truck, flew to Sioux Falls, got there. Yeah, he was in the lobby. He was waiting for me to come get him. Um, got him wheeled out, got him into the truck. He wasn't feeling too hot, so I was like, okay. Um, it worked. We got him in. It was fine. We got up to Morningside. We stopped and had some lunch. There again, he wasn't really hungry, so um, he just had a couple French fries and I think like a bite of a burger. But um, his mouth and oh, that's the other thing too is he kept complaining that his tongue and his like the roof of his mouth was sore. Well, um, there's a symptom before you get fully sepsis. It's called black tongue or black hairy tongue, I think is what it's called. Your your tongue literally turns black. The roof of your mouth becomes like you just sucked on lava pizza. It becomes so sore, um, and your tongue becomes really black. And he had that, and I kept telling the nurses his mouth is really sore, his tongue is black. There's got to be a problem. What's the problem? His tongue, because he couldn't eat anything. It was all soft, and he couldn't have hot things. He couldn't have cold things because it just hurt his mouth. Um, so he wasn't eating a lot. Well, finally, at about 2 days before, they gave him mouthwash. Well, when you get black tongue or hairy black tongue, whatever you want to call it, there's several mouthwashes that you're not supposed to give people with that stuff. They gave him stuff that he wasn't supposed to have. So, it's whatever. So, anyways, we're on our way up to Marshall. We get up there a little bit late. Um, I did not realize it was like almost 4 hours from from Sioux Falls up to Marshall. I was thinking it was like 2.5 to 3 hours. Well, in that particular month, every freaking road had road construction on it. So we ended up going through like four detours, and the last one was like a 45-mile detour. It was ridiculous. um, so yeah, so we get up there a little bit late. Um, I get him at the front door. Now this place had just is in like midst of a COVID outbreak, so I should have just brought him home. That's what I should have. I should have just fucking brought him home. But whatever. Looking back on it now, it's 2020. Hindsight's 2020. um, so we went through the op-ed and the head nurse and blah 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 and blah 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 and and I just had when the op-ed goes, I hope you like it here because you're probably not leaving within the first 10 minutes of you being up there at the facility. It kind of throws a red flag up. Anyways, so we go through the whole intake process, and he signs the paperwork, I initial, and blah blah, because I'm the power of attorney and everything like that. And that was again Wednesday. He went through one weekend. There again, no physical therapy, no occupational therapy. Um, he said that they were sometimes giving him his medication at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then at midnight, or the other time it was 6 o'clock in the morning and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So he was saying that it was the medicine was all over the place. Um, the there was a few nice people there, he said, but for the most part, people were, yeah, it wasn't good. So Monday I called him. So we set up a time, Monday at 9 o'clock. He would either call me or I would call him. And because I just physically couldn't go, with working every day, I physically couldn't go see him every day. Even in Marshall, I couldn't physically go see him every day. So we worked out a plan that he would call me up at 9 o'clock, or I would call him at 9 o'clock, and we would talk, blah blah blah. Talked to him on Monday. I went to work. He called me Monday night, um, while I was at work for just a few minutes, and then I talked to him on Tuesday, and or he called me on Tuesday, and because Monday I called him, he called me on Tuesday, and I said, do you want me to come and see you today? And because he sounded a little off, and he goes, yeah, he goes, but I'm in Sioux Falls. What? He goes, yeah, I got life flighted to Sioux Falls. What? You got what? So I said, Poopsie, let me call you right back. Okay, so I called up there to the front desk, and I said, hey, told him who I was, and I said, I'm trying to get a hold of my uncle in room, I think it was 8 or 6 or something like that. And I said, I think his cell phone's acting stupid. I said, can I by chance have somebody go check on him and just move his cell phone a little bit closer for me, please? And she's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So she puts me on hold. It wasn't but like 40 seconds, 30 seconds. Um, there is something like home health there. There is, well, yeah. So it wasn't but like 30, 40 seconds, right? She calls back, and her whole demeanor, or she, picks up off hold, her whole demeanor is changed. Whole thing is changed. And she's like, I need you to talk to the op-ed. Okay, why? Well, just talk to administration. Okay. So she puts me on hold, and the lady answers. I wish I could remember her name, but I can't. Um, and she goes, your uncle's not here. What? I already knew where he was. I'm like, what? And she goes, he's not here. He's back in Sioux Falls. When? Why? What? When? Okay. Why is this the first time I'm finding out about this? And she goes, well, in his charts here, it shows that somebody called yesterday. Nobody called yesterday. Nobody. And she's like, so instantly I took a screenshot of my call logs. And I'm like, nobody messaged, nobody said anything. I'm like, what is going on? Why, where is he? And she, she's like, well, it shows on his charts that, you were called and blah, blah, blah. It shows on his charts that you were called. I said, well, put this in his charts. Nobody called me. And she goes, well, I can't make chart entries. That's got to be the nurse. Administration. Administration can't make chart notes. Really? Anyways, so she goes, hold on. She goes, I'm gonna call the nurse. He's here today. I'm like, okay, cool. So she puts me on hold, and it was less than a minute, maybe at most a minute. She re-picks up the phone. Well, he's not answering. He must be busy. I'm like, okay. Um, I said, well, I need to know why. What's going on? What'd you find? What happened? Did he fall? It's like, what happened? She goes, well, hold on. She goes, did you authorize a room hold? No, I didn't talk to anybody. Oh, well, it says here in his charts that you gave verbal authorization for a room hold. Wasn't me. Nobody called. Nobody texted. Nobody nothing. Nobody called. And she goes, oh, well, then the way she was talking changed. And I knew. You ever get that funny feeling that, haha, you caught him? Yeah. Because when she changed her tune, that just verified that something is going on. They're still cash cowing him. That's the first thing that thought in my brain. And so, um, I said, when you and the nurse can call me at the same time together, we'll talk about this. If not, I will be up tomorrow and we can have a meeting tomorrow. Now, this was Wednesday. He wasn't there even a week. Oh, by the way, at Morningside in Marshall, if you want to do a room hold, it's $500 a day. $500 a day. You can go to frickin' Vegas and buy a penthouse suite for like $350 a night. $500 a day. So let that sink in. Um, so went to work, talked to Poopsie that night. Wednesday morning, I hauled butt up to Marshall. Um, got up there, parked, basically right by the front door, in the parking lot, not in where people are making deliveries or dropping patients off or anything like that. Um, went in, and nobody was at the front desk. Nobody. So I hit the bell, and I could hear. So when you're facing the front desk, kind of at a 45 degree, over on this side, the left side, there's like a doorway with a door that comes out into the lobby area. I could hear people in that office back there. And as soon as I dinged, nobody, like nothing. So the lady that I was talking to the other day on the phone, yesterday on the phone, she comes out and she goes, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm here to have a meeting and pick up my uncle's stuff." And she goes, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Well, here's all his stuff. We took the liberty of cleaning out his room. Here's all his stuff. Can we have our basket back, please?" Okay. I'm like, do we want to talk about? Well, no, we'll talk after you go get the stuff in your truck or in your vehicle. I'm like, okay. So I went out, put all the stuff in the truck, brought the basket back, put it up on the counter, ding the bell. Again, I could hear talking in that room on the left. As soon as I hit the bell again, nothing. I could hear them shuffling on the carpet over there. I could see shadows on the wall because I can see about that much of the wall in that room. I could see shadows on the wall. And I dinged it again. And I think her name was Kim. I think it was Kim. And I said, Kim, I said, I know you're in that office. Are we going to have this meeting or not? And nothing. And I dinged it again. And I said, I know you're in that office. There's two of you in there. And nothing. I dinged it again. And I said, all right, y'all made me do this. In their parking lot with both windows rolled down, I called the state because something was going on. Something was going on there. You don't just move people without letting family members know, especially POAs. You just don't. You just don't do that. But they did. And then she tells me that in his chart it says this. Whatever. So my mom got a hold of a social worker that where she works. She gave me the main DHS, Department of Human Resources or Services. They gave me the main number, so I made a case. I made a complaint in the parking lot while they were looking out the window at me, and nurses were walking by me. I made sure that everybody that was there knew what I was doing. So that took an hour, and oh my god, that is the most frustrating thing I think I've had to deal. No, that was one of the most frustrating things that I've had to deal with. To try to make a complaint. Oh my god, you're taking questions that are this big for an issue that is this big. I get what they're doing. They're trying to have questions that are broad enough to cover all the issues. But how are you supposed to give accurate information or accurate answers when they're asking questions this big, but you have a problem that's this big? You see what I mean? The guy on the phone, he did a great job. He was trying. He was trying. So I wasn't getting mad at him, but that was one of the most frustrating things ever. So then I got fired up the truck, and I went to Sioux Falls. Um, he was on the third floor. What the hell was his room number? It was like 1111111 or something like that. It was basically right there by the nurse's station. Um, so or not? It was 3111 is what it was, I believe. I don't know. Anyways, he was on the third floor. Um, there again, that was his first battle with sepsis. Sepsis. Um, his pneumonia came back. Blah 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 blah. Um, I'm not even sure what the hell happened there. Um, like I said, the whole time at Avera, um, it was like trying to pull teeth. I couldn't get any information. I had no clue what was going on. So yeah, we got there. Um, Long time no see, Mr. Brock. Um, he there again, he wasn't being physical therapy. He wasn't occupational therapy. He just laid. They weren't putting him in the chair. So after about a week of that, I finally started getting pissed. I'm like, listen, he needs to move. That's all there is to it. He's going to move. Either you move him or I move him. He needs to move. He can't just keep laying in this bed. And because it's if you've been around nursing or hospitals or anything for any amount of time, the longer you lay there, the less likely it is you're going to be able to use your legs because the atrophying and the muscle toning, detoning, and stuff like that happens. It's just what happens, especially when you're 79 years old and you have mobility problems to begin with. It's almost like steroids at that point. Um, so yeah, so finally I'm just like, we got to move him, we got to move him, we got to move. Still not even 100% sure what the hell he was back there for. He had an infection. That's all I knew. Um, we were there for about 3 weeks. Um, the last Friday he was there, oh my gosh. You want to talk about pissed. You want to talk about pissed. Somehow, somehow, I, his POA, got taken off the first contact spot. His daughter from California got put on the first contact spot. I wasn't even on the contact list. Yeah. I lost it. I went downstairs to the parking lot. I grabbed my keys from security or from the valet. I wasn't going to leave. I just need to get into the truck to have a smoke and a bunch of them. I was physically shaking. I was so pissed. Fucking Rocky. Anybody want a free dog? How about a fuzzy boot? It's black and tan and white. You can skin them. That's another thing that we're going to get into too. But um, extremely pissed. Extremely pissed. I go outside. I call my mom. Like I needed to scream at somebody. I like needed somebody to feel the wrath. Um, I call my mom and she's just and my mom has been she's been along for the ride, so she can one of these days when she's down here, I'll have to do a live stream with her, and we'll kind of talk about this. Um, but she's one of them that has been there step by step by step. Not she doesn't know everything, but she knows a lot. She knows the majority of the stuff that happened. Um, so yeah, so I spent about 45 minutes outside, just physically shaking and smoking one cigarette after another after another. Do not smoke. Um, so yeah, I went back upstairs. In the elevator, the further up I went, the more pissed I got. And I'm like, no, calm down, calm down. And so I walked back into his room, and you could tell he was upset because he was crying, and so he does that, wipes the tears thing, and so I still don't know, even to this day, I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got removed from the contact list altogether. I have no clue, none whatsoever. Um, from that day on, I think he was only there for like another. He was over the weekend, but I think it was like Tuesday. That following Tuesday, he was transferred to the VA. I did everything in my power to get him out of there. At that point, I started calling the VA. I'm like, "Hey, do you have a bed available? I want him out of here. I don't care." I started personally calling the VA, begging them to get involved to get him the fuck out of there. I was done. I was absolutely done. Um, so we talked to, I forget the lady's job title. Um, was it human resources? Not human resources. What the hell was it? What the it's where the person that you call and make a complaint, because like every floor of every hospital has one, Um, but it's not. Oh my God! I just administrator. I think that's what it's called. So she came in, and it took every ounce of my being not to scream at this lady. And I simply asked, and I'll never forget this. I simply asked, why? No, it's not human resources. That's for employees. I think it's administration. I think is what it is. I forget the yeah, but it's not human resources. Um, well, it might be where you are, but it's not here in Sioux Falls or Minnesota. Um, I want to say it's administration, but anyways, um, so I simply asked her. I said, "Why was I taken off the contact list?" And her mouth, literally, her mouth hit, her bottom jaw hit the floor. I, to this day, still think it's because I found out they were caught. I don't know who made the call. I don't know who made the decision. I don't know why Avera never called me to verify any of this. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. Um, that Tuesday, well, like I said, that Friday, I was calling the VA. I was literally physically calling the VA myself, asking them to get involved. um, sorry, I was outside. I mowed grass today, so all my um, in it's so miserable here today. I shouldn't say so miserable, but whatever. Um, so yeah, I was calling the VA myself and getting them involved. Um, because the VA was his primary, and they refused to listen to me. They refused to take the medication sheet that I have here at the house that I brought to them. They didn't look at any of his medications, none whatsoever, like none, absolutely none. They literally gave him a brand new medication workup, and not a single one of his medications that he was on was he getting. So they didn't even look at his medicine list, like nothing. Um, so that Friday I was on the phone with the VA trying to get them involved. Got them involved. They had a bed at CLC 2, which is oh my god, it's been almost a year ago and I can't remember the name. It's CLC 2. I can't remember what the name of the what the CLC means. Anyways, it's basically the rehab floor. They have 2 floors, 3 floors, 3 floors. He was on the second floor. Um, Tuesday he got transferred over there, so I went over there and met him over there. Um, that's when that's when the really bad stuff started happening. Um, he ended up a week later in ICU with his first major battle with sepsis. Um, his blood pressure tanked. His white blood cells were like 150,000 or 15,000 or some bullshit like that. I mean, they were out through the roof. Um, they had to put him on oppressors. They had to put him on, all sorts of medications. Um, so that was the first one. They sent him to Sanford, which finally he got to a place that we both liked. Um, they were worried about his heart because his blood pressure tanked so fast and so hard. So he went to the heart side of Sanford in Sioux Falls. Um, he spent 3 weeks there, about 3 weeks there. Um, then he got transferred back to the VA. Um, Almost immediately after he got transferred, he had another battle where his heart, blood pressure tanked. Was in the ICU again, and stuff like that. The VA in Sioux Falls it's not equipped. It's not a trauma unit. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Um, they don't. It's hard to explain because the doctors and nurses over there they tried their best. um, I really honestly can't say anything negative about the people at the VA because they honestly really did try. Um, so then he went back to Avera or Sanford, um, but this time he was at the main hospital. Um, so yeah, we got him in there, and then it was up down up down up down. Then they realized that um, he's got there's like four different versions of sepsis. He's had two of them already, but he went from the fungus in the lungs thing. So I forget what it's called, but it's where yeast gets in your bloodstream. And that's kind of what helps feed all of this stuff. And that's also what caused the black tongue and the sore roof of the mouth was the yeast in your bloodstream. Starts with a Y, and I can't remember what it's called. Um, so that's kind of what started all this. That's basically for him. It's not typically for everybody. The more research I did into it, the more I found out. Yeah, it's one of the main ways that people get sepsis is they get the yeast in the bloodstream, and if they don't catch it in time, it causes sepsis. That's basically what sepsis is. But his was worse. So the first one was the yeast in the bloodstream. That's what caused it. The second one, third one, fourth one were all um, kidney infection sepsis, which that is the extreme danger one. That's extreme danger. He battled it and beat it four different times. Um, they he had the Mayo working on his case. He had three universities working on his case. They wanted to know how he was able to beat this type of sepsis four times. um, and the funny thing is when he so if you work in the medical world, then I apologize. I apologize. This is going to be extremely harsh, and I may not even get to it in this video. This is why I put part one, um, or this live stream. But um, why does the hospitals give up on people so quick? So after the second battle with sepsis, his body needed just a little bit of help, and it showed big improvement, like big improvement. Like he was on Levo. Levo's an oppressor. It helps basically it helps a lot of things, but it helps your heart beat more efficient. So it's like steroids for your heart type thing. He needed just a little bit, and his body showed big improvements, big improvements. So yeah. Anyways, that'll get into more, but so yeah, he battled sepsis four times and survived four times, like full blown attacks, like full blown attacks. Um, he they he stayed quite a bit at Sanford. Well, he was pretty much there from right after his birthday in November. He was at Sanford pretty much right after that, all the way up until February. Was it like February 20 something? I think is when he got transferred to um, Wyndham here. So he was in. He pretty much stayed in Sanford at that time. He did do 1 week at Good Sam's in Sioux Falls. Um, there again, he had an episode in. Um, yeah, they ended up sending him back about a week later. Um, then they started him on some really tough medication, like really, and it was really expensive. So it took the already narrowed window of places that he could go for rehab, and it shrunk it down to literally nothing. Um, we decided and hoped that Wyndham would take him, which ultimately they did. Um, but there was so many freaking hoops to jump through, which I didn't find that out until we got him intaked here. Um, which come to, yeah, whatever. Um, yeah, and then he was there for about a week or week and a half, and on March 1st, it was a Saturday, I went down and hung out with him, and I knew I was going to come down Sunday, and because I wanted to make him supper and make him lunch and have lunch with him and stuff like that. Sunday I went down, and it just didn't. He didn't seem right. Um, the whole time at Good Sam's in Wyndham, I don't know. It just there was two girls there that really attached to Poopsie, and they really looked after him. Um, but everything else and everybody else is just like they forgot about him. Um, I don't know. I don't know. But Sunday I went down and I had lunch with him, and um, I told him as I was leaving because he just wasn't he was tired, and he just wanted to sleep. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go home, and I'll come down tomorrow, and before I go to work, and I'll spend an hour with you tomorrow. Okay. And I told the nurse at the desk. I said he needs to be looked after. Something's changing. Something's going off. Something's different. Something is. I said, be prepared to bring him back to the hospital. Um, and she's like, what? Huh? Or no, it was the guy. It was the guy. He's like, okay. So he wrote the note, and and it was like 12:30 or something like that. The nurse calls, and I don't know. The whole thing was weird. I don't understand it. But I get the phone call that he had a full workup. Everything seems fine. I'm like, what is his blood pressure? And they didn't say anything about his blood pressure and all this other stuff. Um, and I'm like, keep an eye on him. I said, something is off. Something's not right. You're gonna have to check on him. Take his blood pressure. Do it. Make sure to check on him. Da 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 da. Or better yet, just get him over to the ER. Get him over to the ER. Send him back to Sioux Falls. Send him back to Sioux Falls. Oh well, we'll think about it and blah 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 blah. I'm like, I'm not asking. I'm telling. I'm like, send him somewhere. Okay, well we'll take care of it. I'm like, okay. At 4:45 on March 3rd, um, is when I get the phone call saying that he passed away. Um, so yeah, that's why the title's Life After Death. Um, Some of you probably aren't going to agree with this. Some of you probably, whatever. I don't care. Um, some of you might unsubscribe, whatever. But on March 3rd, I lost my best friend, my everything. Um, you know, he, we we lived together for 21 years at that point. Um, you know, so yeah, it's hard. It sucks because from September 5th all the way to March 3rd was this nonstop battle. Um, and to have a worthless facility like Good Sam's in Wyndham basically take him away from me. And there's more to this I'll get into later, but it was it's been a journey, not a good journey, but it's been it's been something. Um, and that's why if you're on my Facebook page, on my personal page, and I think I did one other live here. It's an awkward conversation, but it's an uncomfortable conversation. But if you have anybody in your life, whether it's your mom, dad, brother, husband, partner, whatever, significant other, whatever the hell you want to, whatever, you have to have this conversation. You have to have it. You have to figure out what you're going to do for each other, with each other. What's up, Mr. Tim? I'm glad to see you on here. Um, you have to have the conversation. Um, you have to have the conversation. But yeah, he was yeah, he was a goof. He was a goof. But anyways, listen. So this is going to be part 1. Part 2 gets into we'll go a little bit further into it, but we'll see what happens. Um, Almost all the way through it, very end. But and please don't call or don't harass. The only reason why I'm saying names is because if it happens at these mega places, um, yeah, I read your post, bud. I read your post. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, but don't contact these people. Somebody goes, well, why don't you hire a medical attorney? I don't have money for that. They have a team of lawyers. The state actually. Oh, so the state in that complaint for Morningside up in Marshall, the state actually did investigate it. Um, they were really quick about it. They everything like that, and yeah, they said that there was no wrongdoing. So I will 99% say that they went and recharted and covered everything up, took things out, whatever. They recharted his chart. I'll guarantee it. I'll guarantee it. So yeah, it's it is absolute. And then the second time we went to Sanford, do you guys know what palliative care is? In Minnesota, palliative care is the department that deals with you before hospice or before death, right? They claim it's to get the family more connected with the doctors and keeping doctors in line. Like intermingle, so the urology knew what the cardiologist was doing, which knew what the The skin doctor, bullshit, bullshit. The lady, I think her name was Michelle, but everybody called her Missy. I don't know. Oh my god, she pissed me off. She would literally call at the worst freaking time, and all she wanted to do was talk about him dying. Um, you know, and it's just like Jesus fucking Christ, lady. It's. I finally snapped at her. I'm like, you will never talk to him without me being there. I don't even want you to talk to me. I said, I don't know why you're giving up on him. I said, all the doctors, well, you got to think about him because he's getting levo, he's getting a pressor, he's getting three, he's getting pushed three of levo, and I'm like, and you want to talk, you want to pull the plug on him? I'm like, what are you doing? Well, his life after this might not be this. Well, then we'll deal with it after that. I'm like, what? Jesus fucking Christ! It was just for about half the time, it was just people coming. Well, he's gonna die. He's gonna die. He's gonna die. Well, it's like Jesus. Um, yeah, it was. And then the whole Avera thing and the Morningside thing and it's just oh my god. Yeah, and then everybody that I tell the story to is like, well, hire a lawyer, get a lawyer. You're gonna get millions and millions and millions, and I'm like, I don't care about the fucking money. It doesn't bring him back. It doesn't. It doesn't. What good is it gonna do? Yeah, well, a little bit would help, but that's for part two or part three. But yeah, it's like what, whatever. Anyways, all right, we're gonna pause the story there. All right, we're gonna pause the story. So yes, um, as of March 3rd of 2025, Poopsie passed away. Um, which I think I did a live. I tried to do a live stream here because I know there's a lot of friends that we have here um, that didn't know that isn't on his Facebook or my Facebook. So yeah, but after fighting that long and that hard, to have somebody fuck up or two people fuck up so that person gets taken from you. Yeah. Don't I know what you mean, Pine Trail, but don't like if you would have said that to me 3 months ago, I probably would have came uncorked on you. Um that's you have to be careful saying that to people, especially, in this situation. I like I said, I know what you mean, and it's okay. I get it. I know what you mean. Um, but that was the one thing. No, that's part two. That's part two. That's part two. When is part two? Probably Monday, because that's the next day I have off. By the way, if you're over on Twitch, yeah, yeah, it probably won't be streaming for this month. Um, Today was my only day off this week. I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I have Monday off, which now come to find out I have to go back into work on Monday. I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, have Thursday off, work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have Monday off, work Tuesday. So I literally get one day a week off this entire week and every other weekend. And I still bring home 1,000, like $1,500 a month. So, yeah. What am I doing? I'm just sitting here. What are you doing? What are you doing, Tim? Oh, are you just sitting there? I bet you're laying there. Probably half laying, half sitting. Let me guess, on the couch. Work? Shut up. Oh, work? Oh, what am I doing for work? Well, a couple years ago, um, I came off the road, as you guys know, um, and I was going to Um, Basically, be here more for Poopsie. No, in bed. Okay. I was gonna be here for Poopsie. And because the county, we were able to get figure out how to get a hold of the county. Um, oh, dude, I'm not kidding. Like today, it was a struggle to even mow the grass. I mean, it's so stupid. But what you want to talk about getting milked for hard work and little pay? Yeah, it's this is it. To the job's credit, to the gas station's credit, they did give me $1 raise, but it's still not even close to being enough. Um, yeah, we'll get into that in part two, which will be Monday. Um, you need a job? I have a job, and I'm waiting for another one to come from New Ulm, but that hasn't showed up yet. Um, once I get that job, then things will be it'll it'll get better. I hope. Um, but yeah, no, I got 3 dogs. I got Donor, the wiener dog, Munchkin, his Chihuahua, and Rocky, his rat terrier. So I can't go back over the road. And if I'm gonna do trucking, I don't want to do local stuff. Well, first of all, there is no local stuff here. Um, and if I do it, I'm gonna go back over the road. So I'm trying to stay away from it. And besides, I have a funny feeling this year will be the last year that I get my health card because my blood pressure is way way out of control. Uh, yeah, but that's the thing though. Pine Trail is I would love to live stream more, and with this new job, I would be able to do that. Um, but 2 to 10 at the gas station, um, with barely any days off. Um, yeah, yeah. Good luck with that, Tim. Um, I literally I'm dead all morning until about an hour before I have to go to work, and I have to chase dogs and I have to do bills and this is and that's and da 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 da's. So right now I physically and mentally can't do any live streaming. I do when when I have the time, but I'm so tired all the time. Um, and yeah, no, Tim, when this whole thing started and we had the first big scare of him possibly dying. Um, yeah, yeah, I found out I have a lot of medical issues. High blood pressure, neuropathy. Uh, yeah, there's like 3 or 4 different things that I'm sure I'm gonna have to get medication for or something. And quite honestly, I just don't have the money. I don't have the money. I don't have health insurance, um, and I'm already basically I have $1,000 left in my savings. After 28 years of over the road driving, owning my own for 26 or 27, um, yeah, all I have to show for it is $1,000 and a brand new mortgage on the house. so so that'll come in part two or part three. And yeah, and please please don't. This isn't. It is super hard to even ask for help. And this is not me asking for help. This is just me telling the story of what happened. Because YouTube, I kind of left in the dark. Pretty much a lot of people on. I do it. I can't. It's like $400 and some a month. I literally can't even buy groceries. Um, I haven't been grocery shopping in 3 months, 2 months, 3 months now. And I won't be able to go for probably close to another 2 or 3 months. So, unless if I get this job. So, yeah, no, there's no buying anything. Um, I am 100% scraping by. Um, so, but like I said, I'll get more into that later. But I don't, like I said, I don't want this to be. Um, this isn't anything but just a story. That's it. That's it. Because like I said, I had a couple people ask me what happened. Where have I been? Blah 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 blah. Yeah. So it's basically just a story. Um, I'm not. I'm not. That's it. That's it. I've got things figured out. I don't got things figured out, but in my little brain, I think I got things figured out. But yeah, no. So that's kind of the whole idea about this. Um, I just wish I could figure out how to flip you over. I just don't know how to flip you over. If I figure this out now, I'm gonna be so mad. Is it what retouch? Retouch on. Retouch up. Oh, well. I don't know how to flip this stupid thing over. YouTube, you made the stupid app so freaking complicated. Is the plus? Oh, no, 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 that's not it. Don't touch that button. We're vertical, and I want to go this way because it's easier. You can see more. And I like to talk with my hands. And if I talk with my hands, this is what you see. John Cena. Nothing. John C. Nothing. No. Yeah, and well, yeah, yeah, right, Sam. Yeah, you know more than a lot. Tim knows more than most people here on YouTube. Um, but if this, like I said, when you can't write this, you can't make this up, right? And I kind of glazed over a bunch of things. Um, yeah, I know, but I can't. I don't know where it is though. Hide live video, retouch, create highlight, screen share, green screen, lighting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can't. Anyways, I'll try to figure it out later. We're pretty much done anyway, so. Um, oh, I know, Tim. I know. And that's that. Well, we'll get into that too. We'll get into that in a part two. Um, it's yeah, like Sam, it's hard to understand. You deal with. No, I have a yeah, Samsung. Um, it's hard to fight for 6 or 7 months nonstop every day, and it was literally an everyday fight every single freaking day, and to be ignored and to be not listened to and to be left out and to be overlooked and to be, you know, whatever. It's and then all of a sudden, boom, that person that you're fighting for and getting overlooked for and everything like that is gone. And you know, we spent. I will say this: we spent so much time I spent so much time making sure that he was going to be okay if something happened to me. Because by all rights, I should have died. I should have gone way before he did. I was the one driving truck. I was the one, bungee jumping, skydiving, racing cars, racing trucks, racing this, racing that. Oh, shut up. Are you fucking kidding me? No. No, that's just the auto rotate. That's just for the screen. Yeah, that's already on. It's something to do with YouTube, Pine Trail. There's a button somewhere. I just don't know where. Um, but yeah, that's why I was so focused on making sure that if something would happen to me, which, like I said, by all right, it should have happened to me first. I should have been dead long before he did. Um, that we completely forgot about me. Like what happens if something happens to him? He did think ahead a little bit. There was a little bit of health insurance. It doesn't work. It goes into whatever mode. It freaks out. So this is what it looks like. Orientation locked. Rotate your device back. Yeah. So it's fine. It's fine. I'll look at it later. It's a setting somewhere in freaking YouTube or the whatever the app. The app sucks, by the way. Um, yeah, it's and yeah, yeah, exactly, Sam. A lot of people can relate, and you know, I don't know. It's one of those things where not a lot of people talk about it. Not a lot of people talk about what happens. Um, yeah, it is unlocked, but it's a setting. I'll figure it out later. Um, but yeah, a lot of people don't have the discussion, of what happens if somebody in their family or their spouse or significant other or whatever, or even a parent gets sick. What happens if they die? What do they want? What do you not? What do you need? Do you have a DNR? Do you have a modified DNR? Do you have, it's like what do you want? What do you have? You know, um, are all the legal documents in order? um, yeah, I mean, not a lot of people have that discussion, because it's awkward and it's doom and gloom and stuff like that. But I mean, look at Poopsie, for example. He went in literally just for a kidney stone. How basic of a procedure is that? That's literally outpatient. I mean, it's so basic, and he never came home. I mean, shit like this happens more and more and more. Yeah, and it does. Stuff like this happens, and with the way the hospitals and the clinics are now, they don't heal people. They're not in the practice of healing people anymore because they're all controlled by insurance companies. They go by guidelines now, and if one guideline fits thousands of people, which isn't true, which isn't right. The the medical world isn't here to heal you, and it takes one issue to explode into death. So and that's why I want to make sure people know, especially people that know me, um, like you guys here on YouTube and people on Twitch and Facebook and personal life and everything like that. You know, have the awkward conversation. You need to, you know, Don't be like me and many others, where you have to deal with grieving and all the stupid shit all at the same time. Just put it on autopilot. Have the conversation now, so it goes on autopilot if something happens. Then you just worry about the grieving part. You don't have to worry about the financial or the who-does and what-does and the wheres and the what whys and all this other shit. You know, I know it's uncomfortable. And you're probably going, well, I only have a girlfriend, blah 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 blah. So you can put insurance on yourself. You can put life insurance on yourself. You can write a will for yourself. Have your parents keep it until you get married. Then redo it. People, literally take it from somebody that just got done fighting. It is worth going through that awkward conversation. And if you're over 55 and you're a part of AARP, call them. They will walk you through it. If you don't know how to do it or you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, call AARP if you're a member. And this isn't a plug for them. Poopsie was a member and we didn't know anything fucking about it. So, that's what I mean. Call somebody. You know, but have that conversation. Put it on paper. It's literally one of the most important things you could ever do in a relationship or your life. And I know some of you are probably going, well, I'm only 15. Well, you got it made anyways. Just shush your mouth. But I hope you're not 15 and watching this channel. But you never know. You might be. But no, it's like seriously. And if you're under 18, you're still living at home. Ask your parents, hey, did you have this conversation yet? What are we going to do? What's going to happen? Where am I going to go? What happens if one of you go? What happens if both of you go? Where am I going to go? What do you want me to do? Type thing. Make sure that they have that conversation. Get it on paper, video record it, do something. It'll save you so much bullshit in the end. I promise you. I promise you, with all my ounce of being, it'll save you so much bullshit in the end. Anyways, listen. We got an hour and a half in. This is part one. I'm going to save a couple little things for part two. Depending on how part two goes, maybe there'll be a part three. Who knows? I don't know. But I've got dogs to take care of. It's where I'm late. That's why they're getting crazy. I've got dogs to take care of. I will see you all Monday. All right? Because that's my next day off. But I still have to go into work. Whatever. That's another discussion for another day. But yeah, no. To answer your question, 17 hours later. A few years ago, I came off the road to help take care of Poopsie. We finally got in touch with the county, Cottonwood County here where I live. They would pay loved ones or family members to take care of other family members, so they didn't have to worry about it, right? We were just getting ready to do that. So in the meantime, I just needed a part-time job. So I work at a little fuel stop in town, which has been bought in 3 times now. Twice in the last 2 years. And so yeah, so hopefully I can quit that job, which I love the job, just hate the pay, which they can't honestly give me anymore. I mean, they probably could, but it wouldn't make financial sense for them. So that's why I'm not blaming them. I'm not putting pressure on them. I'm just keeping them in the loop. Like, hey, listen, I can't afford to live. I can't afford to work here. So they were nice enough to give me $1 raise, which I'm hugely grateful for. But it's still not enough. But anyways, so yeah, that's where I work. It's full-time / part-time. Thanks, Minnesota, for, allowing 32 hours to be full-time. Fucking walls. Anyways, so yeah, that's where I work. The new place that I'm trying to get into is in New Ulm. And that would be full-time for almost double the pay. It's an actual job, not a part-time filler job type thing. So that's what's going on with me right now. I've been there for 2 years. December it'll be 2 years. Hopefully I'm gone by then. Hopefully I'm gone because I can't financially afford to stay there. And yes, I might go back into the truck. I might have to stuff dogs in duffel bags and hide them, but I might have to go in the truck too. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Anyways, I will talk to you guys on Monday, most likely about the same time, and I'll see you later. Okay? Thanks for the love. Love ya. Just kidding. Get out of here. Get out of here.